In today's video, I'm going to be helping you guys and girls out on how to grab yourself a perfect start to the great new roguelike game, Lost in Random: The Eternal Die. I put in a ridiculous amount of hours in the demo, testing things out, working out the best relics, cards and unlocks in order to give you the perfect start upon the game's full release. Now, as you're playing through the game, you will need to get a few runs under your belt in order to get yourself some resources and start unlocking things. But when you are doing this, you're going to make yourself very powerful, very fast, and just make your runs a whole bunch easier overall. If you head over to Alma, one of the things you should be doing is upgrading your blessings, and I found by far and away the best was by making sure you fully upgrade your full living. This is going to give you 30 extra health on your start of your runs, which can really help you out on that first level just to completely crack through it and not worry about your health quite as much as you would have without this. The second one you want to upgrade is going to be this one right here, and that's going to be Slaying Servants. Overall, as long as you get a decent build together, you can take out the standard enemies quite easily, but the mini bosses and bosses are going to be where you struggle on because of their high health pool and because of how much damage they'll be dishing out. Is definitely the choice you're going to want to pick. For the last one, this one's completely up to you. If you're just getting used to the game and you want to get used to putting a dice in your rotation, throwing it out and getting some AoE damage, then rejuvenating rolls can definitely work out really nicely, especially if you start picking up some relics later on that go hand in hand with your dice. But for this one, because we're starting off as a beginner build, one that will help you to crack through the game a little bit easier, we're going to be picking the alternative one, and that's going to be Energetic Endings. Now, whenever you defeat an enemy, you're going to get 2 energy shards, allowing you to get your cards back a whole bunch faster. Now, this second column is going to unlock when you start upgrading your blessings, and there's 2 that you should focus on. The first one is going to be Higher Healing. You're going to want to grab this whenever you can, but it can be quite costly. But now, whenever you're tackling some of those tougher encounters and the higher servants of Mare, you're now going to be rewarded with 20 extra health, which can really help you to get through those tougher encounters. And finally, one that's definitely worth having in any roguelike, you're going to want to grab yourself Repelling Rivals, as now you're going to be able to get free revive and also a nice bit of damage mitigation that comes with it. Also, if we head down this way, you're going to be speaking to Rack. This guy is going to be the guy who upgrades as well as unlocks all of your kind of unique weapons, but in order to get hold of him you will have to find his head within the level, so you may have to play a few times in order to find it before you can start unlocking these. Once you do, however, there's quite a few options here. I've tested them all out many times over, and the one that I thought was going to be the best probably turned out to be one of the worst options actually. Now, for this beginner build, you're going to be sticking with a sword. It's going to be your first unlock. And the path I was going to choose that I thought was going to be the strongest overall was going to be your healing path just down the bottom here. However, I tested it out and I would definitely find other ways to heal throughout the game because some of the relics work out a lot better than this, and being able to generate a whole bunch of damage works out much better overall on most of your runs in order to make them a whole bunch cleaner. So for that, there's 2 choices to work out really well. The heavy attack option, because this actually works out really powerful. I'll be making a build on this further down the line. You're going to hurl hurricanes, it's going to generate a whole bunch of damage, and ultimately you could get away without even using cards with this setup. Especially once you get to the end and it hits out with even more hurricanes once the first one's dispersed. This can be a really nice and easy way to defeat enemies once you get used to the playstyle. However, for this starter build, I found by far and away the best is the very first tree, where you first off unlock the Sword of Sixtopia, and then afterwards you're going to grab yourself a nice bit of extra critical chance with 9%, and then finally some extra critical damage whenever you're pulling them off. Now, 30% might not sound like much overall, but honestly this is higher than the rare card you get, which I believe is around about 25%, so it's probably close to that legendary status. If you start factoring in when you boost up all of your weapon damage, and if you can get a bit more crit damage in your build, then this will work out significantly well on those tougher enemies, especially things like the bosses at the end of the levels once you've got a nice build going. Then after this, the main thing you've got to learn is whenever you're throwing out your dice, if you want a bit of AoE damage going on, every single time you throw it out, that big circular area is what's going to be affected, and the dice roll is going to generate 10 points of damage for every one that's on the die. It's going to do 10 to everything in that area, whereas if I manage to throw out a 6, it's going to do 60 points of damage to everything in the area. Also, for your card effects, 100% you want to be throwing out perfect cards every single time, so rather than just tapping the button, you want to hold on to it for around about half a second, which will generate the perfect card attack, allowing you to get whatever the additional function is on the card you're currently equipped. Then we're going to kick it off, head straight through the portal. Straight in front of you is going to be the card that you can pick up and hopefully have a good one. Now at this point, funnily enough, I managed to get hold of what is probably the most powerful card in the game straight away, but if you're a little bit unlucky and not fortunate enough to grab a good one, then I'm going to show you a nice easy way to kind of re-roll it for your first start off. So now you're back to where you were originally, you're going to make your way forward, hopefully pick up a better card, and this time we've got another one that's absolutely exceptional. That's going to be the Dagger of Poison. I'll try and chuck a few really exceptional ones that you should look out for over on the right hand side, but both of these ones are top picks and can really help you to absolutely decimate the levels. I've got a video on the channel at the moment saying all of the best ones and exactly how you should kit them out and why they're so powerful. But once that's done, make sure you start running through the level, hit all of the breakable environmental objects because there's a good chance you're going to get something out of them, either a dice sling that you can take back to Alma, or sometimes you'll be lucky enough to get some health, but most times you can earn yourself some extra coins, which are well worth having every single time you can get hold of them. So destroy everything that's breakable in every single area, as it's just going to make your life a whole bunch easier. Then, whenever there's enemies, try and take them out nice and swiftly without taking any damage if possible, because the less damage you take, the more you can spend on other items rather than healing yourself whenever you're going to the kind of shop area. Once you have defeated all of the enemies within the vicinity, pick up your rewards, and if it's a chest, you're going to want to place whatever you can down, especially the relics, because this is going to determine what kind of build you've got going on. Remember, if you're going for the purple, that's going to be your conjuration damage, red's going to be for upping your weapon damage, yellow for your cards, blue for your dice, and green is going to be for your multicasting and for your extra critical chance. Remember, whenever you're placing things in this kind of strategic puzzle board, you're going to want to line them up, and anytime you manage to get 3 things in a row of the same colour, it's going to boost that colour variant with some extra damage. With the setup we've got going on at the moment, I'd highly recommend, as long as you've got some status effects like with the one I picked up where you're going to be poisoning enemies, then going for conjuration magic is going to be perfect because it's going to up that tick damage, and weapon damage is always really powerful for taking on single enemies, so try to get red and purple as your kind of top priorities as long as you have got a status card involved. If you haven't, just stick with red and anything to boost your standard damage with your weapons. Remember, the legend is perfect for anyone who's kind of struggling and wants to work out the kind of basics of exactly what these categories do, or most things in the game, so you can always flick through these, have a little look and see which path you want to be going down for your perfect build this time. Green is also a really nice option for your luck because you'll be able to up your crit once more, which we spec'd into a little bit earlier. And also yellow, as long as you've got a nice card attack, can help to enhance that damage once more. The one I'd stay away from most of all, if you're doing a beginner run, would probably be your dice damage, and I'd say the same with your relics and such. After that, you're going to be heading through all of the rooms. Remember, the red ones mean that you haven't beaten them yet, so you'll want to clear absolutely all of them. And then whenever you come up with a choice between your cinders or your pip dust, you're going to want to pick whatever you can get hold of in order to upgrade back at your base. Personally, starting off, I'd probably go with pips as much as possible because you're going to want to upgrade your health like we saw earlier, as well as your damage against those tough bosses. But once you've got those unlocked, then you're going to want to go into your weapon damage and upgrade the crit like we saw as well back at rack. When you're defeating enemies in other rooms and you've got the choice between either your coins or your extra health, most times I try to pick the coins if possible, but if you've got health plus 20, I'd probably pick that instead, because then you're going to actually increase your overall health, and if you purchase this at the shop it actually costs 100, so this way you're able to save a little bit of coins overall. Then once you've got a nice setup going, even when you're fighting some of the kind of mini bosses, these should get taken out quite nicely. And like I said, anytime you can enhance yourself a bit with your status effects, like you see here, I've got poison going on and it manages to take the mini bosses out really nice and fast because you've got that single target damage from your weapon, a little bit of extra crit going on, as well as those status effects ticking them for extra damage each time. Now whenever you're rewarded with pearls, don't forget, again, if you can, you're going to try and match these up with the relics that you've got to colour coordinate them. Hitting 3 in a row is always perfect because then you're going to get the boost to your damage of whatever colour it's actually enhancing. And even if you get one that's not ideal, you can put it a little bit out of the way in order to hopefully match it up a little bit later on further down the line. Keep heading through your environment, try and clear absolutely everything that you can on the map whenever possible, as long as your health allows for that, because that way you're going to get more overall in your build, you'll have more gold, you're going to have more chance at some of those mini games, and hopefully you grab yourself some nice resources and some extra health in the process. Of course, the great thing about this is you can always go into your map and fast travel to all of the key locations, which is perfect for any time you unlock something like your health pool, because you can come back to it a little bit later on after you've defeated much more enemies. Now once you make it to the shop, you're going to have a few tough decisions. Do you want to pick up the relic if you have enough? I rarely have 200 coins here, so if you have, you've been playing absolutely amazing, and a relic could make your build really nice and powerful. But for a beginner, I would highly recommend picking up something like the max health plus 20, as it's just going to make your character stronger overall, and after you defeat the boss, you'll also be able to get that 30% extra health regen, hopefully bringing you up to almost max. Once you've decided what you want to pick here, then you're going to make it a little ways forward, head up the staircase, and then make your way over to the boss room. Honestly, the bosses here aren't really that hard, so I'm not going to break them down with their complete movesets. The main thing I'd say is that to beat them quite easily, what you want to do is wait for them to do their attacks, and then when they've got a little bit of downtime, as you can see with this spear guy, then you can start to attack them and take out their health quite nicely, especially when he's doing things like his multi-spear hits. Also, one thing to remember, there are 3 different bosses that can turn up here, but only 2 at a time on each one of your runs, so it may be a bit of a different fight depending on which 2 turn up. These 2 I'd probably say are the tougher out of the 3, and the Scepter is probably the toughest one when you need to start to get the hang of them, because they can be a bit of a pain, especially with their AoE mechanic. Just make sure you've got a dash ready whenever you can in order to get through their circle, and again, much like the spear guy, what you're going to want to do is wait for a little bit of downtime before you start to attack them if possible. Running around the circle, avoiding their long range fireballs always works out perfect, and then just dwindle their health down whenever possible. If you've got some status effects going on, like I have here with the poison, stack them as often or up as high as possible in order to dwindle the health of the enemies, and again it works absolutely fantastic on bosses, especially when we've got that crit damage going on with our weapon. If you can manage to get hold of a relic that gives you something like weaken on your charged card attack, that's going to make things really easy overall, but again it's going to be down to a little bit of luck of what relics you can get hold of, alongside obviously the card you'll be using. Try to get one with multi-charges, which will just help you to smash through the game a whole bunch easier, because then you'll be able to activate perfect card attack relics really nice and fast, and hopefully these first bosses won't be too difficult for you. You'll defeat them, pick up whatever relic you can get hold of in order to enhance your build even further and make your character strong enough to move on to the later stages. Then once that's done, you're going to want to make sure you move on to the next area, pick up absolutely everything you can here in order to regen a little bit of your health. Hopefully you've not taken too much of a beating, you're close to max health now, as well as the other items that are going to help you with your resources and gearing up your character back in the home hub. After that, you should be good to go. You're going to be pretty prepared for what's ahead of you, move on to the next stage, and then try to focus on enhancing whatever you can with your build and setup that you currently focus on. But yeah, hopefully I should be able to bring out a whole bunch more videos for you, as well as some cool builds and what the best weapons and unlocks are currently in the game. And as always, for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.